we're gonna record this because there was a number of requests saying they can't make the time, but they really want to touch base on this interesting topic. Okay, so by the way, I'm gonna try to mute quiet some of you, okay, because your background could be noisy. Now, my name is Greg. They call me Dr. G for fun, because they can't say my name. So in Chinese, it's Greg, it's ghost. So it's like, is there a real ghost around? Well, it's right here, Dr. Ghost. So this is the Ask Me Anything About Astropreneurship series. It's mainly a dialogue for young people, connecting with the global mentors. So right now, we're very happy to have some global mentors. And this is in case there's any aliens listening in. We're the third planet from the sun. Okay, this is where we are. The idea is to start this forum once a month on the 4th Thursday around this time. Okay. So the AMA, this is the second series, by the way. The first one was on Metaverse. This is the second one. And then with every month, we're going to have the new one coming up. Now, I noticed that you can't see those little words. Don't worry. They're purposely designed so you can't see it. This way, you can request for the PowerPoints. Okay. All right. Now, some questions as we go into this. So my role is very much moderator. Now, the question in your mind, some people are thinking, can humans create those UFOs? Now, I'm actually a UFO buff since I was a kid. I don't believe it, but I like to investigate. I'm always one of those, you know, is it real? Is it fake or Memorex? Someone may remember that commercial way back. So maybe human created some of the UFOs, okay? Can we visit other planets with it? Of course we can. You know, we're doing it now, but you know, it's not a UFO. Have there been real UFOs? I don't know, I haven't seen any, but doesn't mean that there aren't any. We're gonna hear from Chris, it's gonna be a lot of stuff. Could they be hypersonic drones? You know, one of my favorite astrophysicists, Michiko Kaku, mentioned that for that kind of speed, that kind of turn, and that kind of go into the ocean and all sorts of funny things they can do with the machine, if you have any living beings in there, you know, they'd be squished. Not possible. Or maybe they're optical illusions, right? Okay, so there's a lot of interesting things about this that helps us make this interesting. And someone mentioned, you know, in the risk management business, there's some background noise. Can you cut that? Yeah. In the risk management business, there's something what we call the known unknowns, okay, and the known risk. And we always set aside something what we call the unknown unknowns. No idea what's going to happen. Now, if this, in fact, is UFO and they're aliens, then that's going to take apart some of the unknown unknowns. So imagine all the companies says, wow, we're going to have aliens to deal with now. We have to completely redesign our risk management practices. So this is something that's different. The question comes back to astropreneurship, because we are talking about astropreneurship, which is entrepreneurship. Okay, what would be the future commercial value? It's fun to talk about UFOs, but what can you do with it? Well, you can actually sell videos, you can sell books, you can become very popular like Chris or even Quinton. So a lot of things you can do. Or maybe you can do a risk assessment for companies using aliens as part of it. So where would you begin and how would you begin as an entrepreneur, particularly for young people trying to get into this field? Now today we have a special guest. I'm the moderator. I'm doing this on behalf of Perry Lam, who is a massive facilitator. By the way, he's not here. That's why I'm doing this. He's actually in the East Coast. I have two young ladies, left and right, Sherry and Cynthia. And my role is firstly to provide some context, bring you up to speed because it's kind of interesting. Then I'm going to deep dive, okay? And each of the guests I'm going to bring in order of importance, not the importance, by the way, in all appearances, okay? So Quinton, one of my friends, lovely guy. He's actually in Manchester, okay? There he is. Then I'm going to bring in Mr. Fu Shang. He's a student, by the way, recent graduate. He's actually traveling en route to Kuala Lumpur airport. That's why he filmed this video for us. And then we have Chris. Thank you, Chris. Chris is, my understanding is he's in Tokyo Philippines to Tokyo. Anyway, one of those places. So, okay. And most importantly, we have you. Okay. So with that, I'm going to quickly go into it and provide some context and bring you up to speed. Okay. Again, UFO has been around since I was a kid. But point is, why are we talking about this now? And that's the key point. I wanted to show you this particular news. It is only last month. NASA officially says we're going to hunt for UFOs. This is interesting. Last month. And you notice that Chris has a lot to do with it. And as we go into this further dialogue, you find that this is fascinating stuff. And my point is if NASA is interested, OASA definitely should be interested. So what's behind all this fun stuff? So some key points. And again, Michio Kaku, okay, and this is the modern day Carl Sagan. Some of you may remember Carl Sagan. It's no longer around, but the billions of stars. And within the billions, there's going to be Earth-like planets. And I'm sure they'll be looking back at us, as Michio Kaku says. So just some background. And this is a very interesting thing. I'll refer to that in a few minutes. First, Fermi paradox. Oops. Okay. So what's a Fermi paradox? Well, apparently the story is that Enrico Fermi was talking to some friends, physicists, and the conversation was, if there was an alien, we should have seen them. So if life is so easy, someone from somewhere must have come calling by now. Okay, so you can actually Google all this. Okay, and it's fantastic now that you live in the world of Google. It's like saying, I'm sitting in this room. If there's Wi-Fi, I should see it. But of course, we can't see Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi exists. So modern days have advanced considerably because of technology. Then you have UFOs of academia, right? And I'm what we call a pseudo-academic. I'm not like a real academic like Quentin. Excuse me, can you put that in mute? Okay. All right, sorry, back again. The UFO academia, and I love the academia. Sometimes they're great people, sometimes they're very, very narrow-minded, but sometimes they have an argument which is worth doing. I think this is kind of argument we did listen to. Something called a giggle factor. Whenever you mention UFO, people sort of laugh at you, say, "Are you for real?" Anyway, so we have a Harvard professor, Avi, another great guy. And he said, "Hey, look at this thing called umau. It's Hawaiian, uma. Anyway, it's called the Scout. And apparently that's a little thing, which is about 100 meters long, floated around the sun and then flew off. So people are scratching their head. What in the world is that? It must be an alien probe. It couldn't be anything, natural. It is 10 times brighter than natural rock. So what is that strange thing?" And there's a huge argument, and you can Google that as well. So Avi, an Israeli, says it must be an alien probe. So interesting arguments. And when we look at UFO, we often refer to the gold standard. Okay, meaning, do you see it? When you see it, there's one thing. Then we question ourselves: is it really an optical illusion? Well, the gold standard is if you have multiple sightings by different people, different instruments, multiple modes, so we can use infrared and we actually see them from different ways, then we begin to change our mind, right? Maybe something is there. Maybe it's something else. It could be, other countries doing it. That is one possible answer. Okay, so now, this is a Michio Kaku, and there's a link there on the YouTube. Fantastic. About 5 minutes long. I encourage you to read it, see it. So Kaku says, the universe is what, 13.8 billion years old? Let us consider that there are 3 types of civilizations. The first type is us, okay? So we're sort of, mini, about maybe 10,000 years of civilization, maybe. And we can't really control the weather. Not yet. We can't say typhoon, go away. We can't say earthquake, go away. Now, let's say we advance our technology about 1,000 years. Maybe we can do that, right? Supposedly, maybe we can. So we would be a planet type of civilization. Now, that's only what, 11,000 years. That's not too much. So next level would be something like Star Trek, what we call stellar. They can go through wormholes and change a planet. So that would be, let's say, give it another 100,000 years. So you round it up, we're talking about 200,000 years, but that's still far from 13.8 billion years, right? So Kaiku said, assuming that a third level of civilization, galactic, and you're operating at a different level of energy that we don't understand. Now, if such thing exists, I'm sure they can be looking at us, right? Or maybe moving around as flying saucers. We don't know. So this is why we're here. But my point is, if NASA is interested, so would be OASA. The first person I want to bring in, a special guest, Professor Quentin Parker, great friend. I know there's a comet that names after him, and he's been searching comets and nebulas and dark matters. And he's the director of space research at Hong Kong U. And by the way, he's ranked one of the top scientists in the world in this area. And we're lucky to have him as the vice chairman, as external, facing the world. And I thought he was in Hong Kong, but he's in Manchester. So Quentin, can you turn on your mic, please? So let me pop the first question on Quentin, okay? So here you have NASA saying, we're interested, we're gonna seriously explore it, and the US Congress is putting real money behind it. Can I hear your reaction to this? What's going on?
Thank you very much, Greg, for those kind words. Yes, I hope to get back to Hong Kong U by August the 21st. But anyway, in the meantime, great question. I think what's really happened, I mean, don't forget, there's a hell of a lot has been going on over decades about this. You had the military involvement in Project Blue Book, etc. You have SETI going on for decades, search for extraterrestrial intelligence, now mostly privately funded, and lots of interest there. But I think the reason why NASA has suddenly decided to enter the fray is because of all the recent disclosures that there have been of these amazing videos taken by US fighter pilots. And those videos that have been released by the US military have now created such a stir with their impact and the lack of any sensible, in terms of current known physics, explanation for what these objects are doing, you know, objects moving at Mach 20. And as was said by Michio Kaku, these things are moving at Mach 20. They're doing incredible behaviors that would lead to G-forces of 200 plus inside them, which would squish any living thing, but who's to know what kind of stasis fields may have been developed inside. That wasn't mentioned. But so, you know, it's this latest disclosures that have piqued so much discussion amongst the public that I think NASA has a more public face compared to what the military and the CIA and Area 51 and all these other things are doing, have meant they've had to respond to that public interest and that public pressure. So this is, I think, their way of just naturally responding to what is now self-evidently a very intriguing set of videos, which are difficult to explain with known physics. And that's the issue. You know, you talked about the giggle factor, and yes, you know, any serious discussion about this phenomena in the past by any serious academic, you know, is a career ending almost, because of the giggle factor and because of, you know, it's something that people steer away from, because even if they saw something with their own eyes, they'd be too scared to go on the record and say something about it, because not just the giggle factor, but also you could argue pressures that have been brought to bear on things if you look at the history of this. So there's been a lot of history, you know, and you know, this UFO phenomena is not just a modern thing that started shortly after World War II. I mean, you know, you go back through the historical records and you can see evidence of strange things in the sky, even recorded in medieval paintings. Exactly, you can find that out on the web. And so, you know, even, you know, these crop circles that you hear about sometimes, there's something called the mowing devil that was from a woodcut from the 16th century in England that shows a beautiful crop circle, and nobody understood what it was, so they thought it was the devil that did it. And so there's lots of these things that have been going on in the past, but, you know, incontrovertible physical evidence to prove once and for all that these things are real and exist because we can feel it, touch it, and visit it, or the aliens come out and talk to us. That hasn't happened. But what has happened is a set of very interesting, irrefutable military grade videos have been released. In fact, you know, the story is that these videos have been released to the public aren't even the best ones that they have. There's even clearer ones of this phenomena available. But the ones that have been released, and there's been more than one, there's been 3 or 4, showing at different times, unidentified aerial phenomena called UAPs rather than UFO. And I think the fact they're now making this distinction is also interesting. But for me, it's actually the staggering behavior as a multiple detections in multiple probes, infrared, radar, optical, multiple probes from different directions at the same time, showing it can't be a flock of birds, it can't be a weather balloon, that the speeds are correct, that that the size is real, and that it is doing these behaviors. That's the problem. Now, if you talk to any physicist about that, and you say, this is what we have, they will just say, well, that's impossible. And so it can't be real. There must be another explanation. And this is often the way, so now you've got this situation where you've got a whole series of verifiable measurements taken with modern sophisticated communications and radars and sensors that show something is real and is happening. But because it doesn't fit in to what we know of known physics, i.e., we don't have any technology like this. No one on Earth does. Oh, so what does that mean? If it's no one on Earth, what's left? Extraterrestrials. No, it can't be them, because to get from the nearest star with known physics would take, 60,000 years or something. So it can't be them. So you have this disconnect between the observable evidence from sensors and detectors. Even if you don't have any physical evidence, you have the sensor evidence and the radar evidence and multiple wavelength evidence of these things behaving in ways that we can't replicate with modern technologies at the moment. Then what is left? Well, you remove what isn't possible, and whatever left must be the truth. And you say, well, it's technology we don't have on this planet. We don't have
Quentin, a short question. We found out that in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Observatory found out that 80 plus UAPs. Okay.
Yes.
Now, since you're in Hong Kong, have anybody ever come up to you and says, "Hey, Quentin, look what we saw, look what we found," and show you a recording or something like that?
No, no one has. No one has done that. I mean, the thing is that everybody now has a mobile phone. Everybody now, a lot of people have more sophisticated imaging equipment than ever before. And so the occurrences of these things is increasing around the world, and so what was taken with a grainy photographic plate in the 1950s as evidence of a UFO. Well, today we have very high technology, but on the other hand, we also have technology that can fake these things. We have powerful AI and CGI and systems that can make videos that are, you can make Barack Obama say things that he hasn't said, make Donald Trump seem normal. Sorry.
Okay. All right. And, we'll come back to you.
Tell the truth. Things like this can be done with deep fakes. And so deep fakes is an area in the UFO realm that is, now also difficult. People can create really amazing fakes of UFOs as well. But these have been released by the US military, so it's a different question.
I found it's actually very good learning for young people, because we're giving a lot of misinformation these days, right? From a lot of different angles. And things like this teaches us to be more critical. What evidence do we look at? Do we have multiple sighting, multiple mode of detection? It actually pushes our understanding of science as well, right? And I think this is the thing that we want many young persons to learn. Now, I'll bring you back, Quentin, okay? Because what you mentioned before, that we're going to have a lot of videos. Yes, we do have videos on the slides, courtesy of Chris there. And there's a long list of good things you can actually go into. Very good videos that we provide to you. Now, let me do a little segue to introduce our next person. I'll come back to you, Quentin. Okay, thank you, Quentin. We're going to introduce Mr. Fu. Oh, can we put back the slides back on? Okay. This is Mr. Fu Xiang Feng. He's actually Malaysian, and he's one of our master's students. And a master's in space science, by the way. He's a top student, one of the top in the class. So I was teaching him, space entrepreneurship. He found a job at as a VC analyst. Okay. All right, we got that. So he has a master's in space science from Hong Kong U and a engineering degree from mechanical engineering, and he's actually in a recent OASA Young Marco Polo. Okay, now seriously, he was actually on his way. He's in his way into Malaysia, and he's done his work and recorded this for us. So Cynthia, all right, I'll pass it to Cynthia, and it's about 10 minutes. It's a video. Here's some questions. He's a young person, 21 years old, asking a lot of good questions. Okay. All right. Hold on, hang on. We're gonna get there. Okay.
Hey guys, it's Fu here as fellow student member of OASA, and I'm very happy to be part of today's discussion. Before I start off, just a disclaimer, I am nowhere near an expert when it comes to UFOs or aliens. So in this session, I'm going to focus mainly on the key questions that I have for NASA and also for OASA. Before I start bombarding you with questions, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. So my name is Fu, that is my surname, and I am a recent graduate from the University of Hong Kong in their Masters in Space Science program, and I'm currently working in an AI-focused venture capital here in Hong Kong. I was introduced to OASA by Dr. Greg in one of our courses and consequently joined the Young Marco Polo program, and I'm very glad to be part of the community. Right, enough of the boring details of myself. Let's just dive right into the questions that I have for NASA as well as for OASA. The first question is also the most straightforward questions of them all is, are we actually alone in the universe or not? I believe this is one of the main questions that we ask when it comes to aliens and UFOs. But if I can only choose one question that I'm going to talk about today to get an answer, this would definitely be the one. And which is also, I guess, is the main topic that is revolving around today's discussion, because for this particular question, it would then branch out to several sub-questions, such as, do we actually have information about aliens in planet Earth? Has actually someone bumped into an alien before? I believe this is what we are interested and curious about, which is why if I get an opportunity to ask NASA, and would also like to ask OASA, how would their reaction be, and if they're able to give me an answer about this. So, but I know this is a rather controversial topic. There's no right answer to it. Okay, some may believe yes, there are aliens in the world. We are not alone in the universe. Some may believe that there are no aliens. We are living peacefully in our Mother Earth. So, which is why I would like to learn how they think about this, and also to a wider audience, how do you think about this? What's your answer to this question, and what's your belief? So this would be the first question that I'm going to ask. The second.
Okay. Now, as you see, because of the bandwidth issue, his face isn't talking. We always run this Zealand test, and something always goes wrong. But that's okay, because we'll show you the other questions, okay? And he's actually there. The video's been played. We'll make sure you get to see the video. So there are 4 other questions. So Cynthia, can you show question number 2? Okay, we're sharing question number 2 now. So question number 2 is, how can humans benefit from the existence of extraterrestrial life? So even, let's say you have UFOs coming in and they're aliens, how are we to benefit from it? Interesting question. Okay. Question number 3, I can read it, it's easier. Yep. Question 3 is, how can we learn to distinguish real and fake news about UFOs? Okay. Very good question. The scam alert. Okay. 4th question. How should one react when you do, in fact, face one? Maybe you say, well, take me to your leader, things like that. Or you said, okay, I give up. What do you do? Now, if NASA is searching so rigorously, I'm sure they're going to find it. Then maybe the aliens is going to stop hiding and says, all right, now we're here. Now, assuming tomorrow they're not going to do it and say, we're here, what are you going to do? Now, this is going to be an interesting question. We've got to do something, right? So the world changes the things that we believe. Wow, this is a special, we see a lot of movies about aliens flying around, but this is for real. When you see something for real, how that's going to change your philosophy or your view of life? Last question, is humankind ready to accept aliens? Very philosophical questions. Now, this is raised by a young person, and Mr. Fu here actually wanted to meet Chris Altman directly, face to face. But Chris has been flying around, that is very, very difficult. Even now that we had the opportunity here, he still couldn't meet Chris. So we're gonna arrange this separately, Chris, okay? Now, let me end, okay. So can we go back and introduce Chris? Good. All right, we're gonna go segue into the next speaker and our final speaker. We're very excited to bring in a real astronaut, a NASA commercial astronaut. Chris was actually with OASA in the early days. So Chris was actually one of the kickoff individuals when OASA did their introduction. So are we looking at it now? All right, so can you see Chris and his bio? Okay, good.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. So Chris is a quantum technologist, and I'm a quantum guy trying to learn quantum. Something I want to pick his brain on. I've been asking all those physicists, but I guess it's very difficult for someone up there to explain someone down here, a dummy like me. What are you talking about? It's very difficult. To be able to explain this to your mom, that takes skill. So I'm looking for somebody for Chris to introduce to me what is quantum. He's a member of the Harvard Galileo Project, and more interestingly, he's a director of UAPX, searching for unidentified aerial phenomena through technosignatures in our skies. He's an International Council member of OASA. We have about 40 International Council members. We're very happy to have him. Look at this handsome guy with his orange suit. So when we were talking, he was on his way to Tokyo from the Philippines. So last time he was in the Philippines, and he sees himself in the Silicon Valley. Okay, so this is Chris, and Chris, you're on. So some questions for you.
Yeah, sure. Shoot, go for it.
Okay, if you can help.
I'm not in space now. I've got a dog here, so I'm not in space for sure.
For sure, all the dogs in space. So help us understand this. Why NASA? I mean, what was the trigger that got them really excited and said, okay, we're going to put some real money behind this, and we're going to investigate for real?
But the military released these 3 videos. It first started the incident was the USS Nimitz incident in 2004. For about 3 or 4 weeks, they were tracking what they call tic tacs. It was 40-foot long, looked just like a tic tac, all around the ship. Not just once or twice, not just a day or two. For 3 weeks straight, these things were hovering around the ship, and they were tracking them from space, all the way from space. They would appear at the top of the limit of the radar, 80,000 feet, and they would come down to just above the ocean level within less than a second. And of course, it's impossible, So they thought it's just a spoof, a bug in the system, so they reboot it and checked everything again. No bugs. It was there again. They cross-checked it with other radars. They cross-checked it with so these things were tracked around the ships for about 2 or 3 weeks before they sent out somebody, because they were going to be starting drills. And they sent out Commander Favor and Lieutenant Commander Dietrich, and they intercepted this thing. And they exhibited battle space dominance is the word they use in the military. It basically wiped the ground with them. It was way down. It was way down at ocean level. It came up and intercepted as he was going down to it. It came up and matched him and going around a circle. When he was descending, it came up ascending. And when he turned to cut across the circle to it, because he thought he'd get to it faster, he just took off. And the radar guy, Kevin Day, who's actually also founder of UAPX, he got on the radio, and he said, "Yeah, that thing's at your cap point. That's the regroup point." And everybody has a different cap point. So Favor has his own, and it was 60 miles away. Within less than a minute, it was 60 miles away at his cap point. So how did it know his cap point? How did it get there so fast? And this isn't just too fast for humans. This is too fast for an airframe. An F-18 airframe, or any kind of airframe we know would collapse, right? Aluminum is not strong enough for this. Titanium is not strong enough for this. Nothing is strong enough for this. So it can't be man-made. The only alternative is that it's a holographic projection of sorts. That's what some people think it is. So if they had like a blend up high, it could project holograms by laser to ionize the air with plasma. But the truth of the matter is that it's been seen from so many different angles, and there's just a volume of data, a wealth of data, that it just rules that out, because this one incident, there's thousands of these incidents. And the best stuff out there is not available to the public. So we've got blurry spheres, you know, coming across the screen. They have high resolution, high definition, up close and personal, takes up the entire screen for as long as you want to see it. I know several people have seen these long videos, the classified videos in the National Security Council, and they came out of it, you know, it's mind blowing. They said it's life transforming, and nothing is the same for them ever again. So there's no question about it if you've seen the classified videos. What we're working on now is getting some of those high resolution videos declassified and released to the public, because as long as they don't reveal sources and methods, they can reveal the actual data itself. So we're working on getting some of this data out.
Okay, two questions for you, Chris, and then I'm going to ask Quentin to jump back in. The first question is, you're an astronaut, right? So you've been flying around up there. Have you seen a UFO or UAP yourself?
I've not been to space yet. So I trained with the Commercial Astronaut Corps, trained at NASA before that. NASA has funded us, our Commercial Astronaut Corps, to do experiments on suborbital vehicles, like Virgin Galactic. When they're ready, every year they tell us that next year's the year. This year might actually be the year that next year is the year. So yeah, we've been funded to go up, but have not gone up yet. Launch slots take a while to come across. Not been up yet, but no, not seen any by eye. No, not personally. But I know lots of people who have up close and personal.
Okay.
Typically, these are, you know, other astronauts or military people or intelligence people. They're not the kind of people that makes things up. You know, they're highly successful people.
Okay.
Not the kind of person to make things up.
So let's hope you will get a chance
yeah.
to see them. Second question is, it sounds like what you said, you know, they're so bold now. They're in your face, right? They don't care anymore. They're showing themselves,
right,
and they're letting you record it.
Exactly.
So it's almost like they want us to come out, you know, let you know we're here. Do you have the same feeling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so does the military, so does the government. It might be, you know, another motivation for them to come out with this, because they might have a choice. There might be something around the corner coming that they don't have under control.
So Quentin, and let me bring you into this discussion. So do you feel that the so ostentatiously in your face kind of behavior? Now, of course, we don't understand their behavior at all because they're alien. Are they trying to make a statement now that we're here? Speak with us. What do you think?
Well, I'd like to go back to before this, just to say a few words about the very first and most important question of, are we alone? Well, the evidence of these unidentified aerial phenomena would be one aspect of that. The other, I would just say, you know, the chances of us finding life in our own solar system in the foreseeable future is relatively high. We have our own LSR deputy director working on subsurface life on Mars. You see, the thing is that life on Earth began almost as soon as it possibly could, almost 4 billion years ago. Now, it was multicellular, it was single-celled life for nearly 2 billion years before it suddenly go multicellular. But nevertheless, life seems to be able to start almost as soon as it can. I believe there's probably life perhaps on Europa, perhaps on Mars, microbial life. I believe that life is ubiquitous in the universe because of you know, and every time we've now found thousands of planets around other stars. When I was a young boy, there was one solar system, our own. Now we know that multiple solar systems around thousands of stars, and that probably every star has a series of planets around it, that many of those are in a habitable zone where liquid water can exist on the surface. And therefore, you know, you go from geochemistry to biochemistry, that seems like very quickly. Whenever there's been cataclysmic events on Earth to extinguish nearly all life, it bounces back really quickly. We found life in you know, deep underwater vents. We found microbes 6 kilometers down eating sulfur in rocks in that South African gold mine. You know, we found life in deep ocean lakes that are frozen on the surface and haven't seen anything for hundreds of thousands of years. So, you know, we look for life everywhere. You know, there's probably more subsurface life on our own planet is above. So life, I think, in the universe as a whole is probably ubiquitous. Intelligent life, that's another matter entirely. Okay, but these UAPs, and you know what Chris was saying, which I second. I mean, there are these high quality videos out there because we've heard about them, and what we've been released has been the lower quality ones. But even those are really difficult to explain. So how are we going to explain if we were given the high resolution? And I think what Chris said is probably could be the truth, you know, that it's not under our control. If there's intelligences out there decide to show themselves, and they do that by landing on the lawn of the White House, then, you know, I mean, that's pretty incontrovertible evidence. They haven't done that. They've been buzzing around ships. They've been doing other things, but they haven't actually come into our, you know, into our Earth space in a city, landed like the Day the Earth Stood Still movies, you know, and announced themselves to the planet. Maybe that is coming, and maybe this is why things may be heating up and moving a little bit more quickly.
Sounds like things are moving, like you said, heating up very quickly. Now, I'd like to take a segue because we have some questions, some polling to get the audience. It's a lot of things going in the chat room, by the way. You guys are writing a lot of stuff. I can't read that fast. So, Sherry, can you put up some poll? This is just to get you guys excited, okay? Some questions that you asked us before. So the first question is, okay, you have some time. What do you believe? Do you believe that UFO is a hoax? Yeah. UFO may exist. UFO definitely is real, or UFO definitely, it's not UGO, sorry, UFO is real and government are covering up. Or the last one, UFO is definitely real and was taken by an alien, and I was taken by an alien, okay? So pick your answer, please, okay? And are we done? Oh, there's another question on the bottom, by the way. Second question is humankind ready to face or even accept aliens? A is not ready. B, not until we can sort our own messes. C, another 5 years maybe. D, another 10 years maybe. E, wrong question. It is not about humankind being ready. They're gonna show up, like it or not. So add your answers in. There's only one choice. Are we done? Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and see what you guys say. So what's the first question? It says, what do you believe in? Wow. So B, 50% of you believe UFO may exist. Hey, sound like me. There's a 30% that says UFO definitely is real and governments are covering up. Governments are covering with the S, okay? So not only the US, Chinese, or Russian, everybody's covering up. Now, next question. Is humankind ready to face, even accept aliens? Majority answer is not until we can sort our own messes. 43%. And the last one, well, this is good. Wrong question. It's not about us, it is about them. So interesting feedback. Now, can you bring back the PowerPoint? I'm mindful of the time because we're flying through, okay?
There's a question on the James Webb Space Telescope, Greg, and maybe I could very quickly answer that about aliens, because, you know, we now have the technology with the James Webb Space Telescope where we can look at the atmospheres around stars. We've already published it has come out in the press release on James Webb, water vapor detection around super Jupiters around another star. We'll be able to soon perhaps detect methane and chlorophyll in the atmospheres of external planets around other stars. Now that is proof of life.
Thank you for that. So the James Webb Telescope, that really changed the game. Chris, your addition?
Not just methane and chlorophyll, but hopefully pollution from an industrial society.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Didn't come through clearly, sorry.
Yeah, pollution. Chris said pollution.
Pollution, okay. Pollution, yep. We can see the pollution coming out. Thank you for that. So can we look back at the slides? Okay, we're going back to the slides again. Now, this is a very nice list of items, videos that provided by Chris. So the question that we're talking about is, should you care? And I think based on the recent short discussion today, I think we should, definitely, of course, why not? Things are moving so fast. So a good primer on the topic, there's a 5 minutes or so. There's a high resolution video for public viewing. You guys got to click on those videos. Those are good ones, okay? But you don't have to do it today. Next, we're doing perfect timing, by the way. This is supposed to be 45 minutes. Now, I'd like to finalize with some questions and some last thought. So I'd like to provide, gentlemen, Quentin, maybe a few minutes, and then Christopher, on what should we do now that things are coming so obvious now? What should we do to prepare ourselves, gentlemen? Quentin, why don't you start first?
If they come and land on the lawn of the White House or in Paris or London or wherever, and make themselves known, then I think what we do, I mean, it depends on what they want. If they want anything at all, I mean, our response will be, what are they here for and what are they expecting from us and how do we respond? there's been any number of movies and videos and documentaries on all of these questions, and you can find them on the web very easily. I mean, and we're not a global planet in terms of a government, a single government. So, we'll have multiple responses from multiple sources by multiple governments, depending on their own, cultures and languages and ways of looking at things. And so, what will an alien civilization do? Does it need to land in every major city simultaneously? For that, I don't know, but there isn't a single voice that speaks for humanity. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Good point. As we don't have a single voice. Chris.
The question if the government is covering it up is actually a complex question. Obviously, this is covering something, right? The extent of their knowledge is definitely being covered up. There's sources and methods they're using to detect this stuff is obviously being covered up. It needs to be. Otherwise, national security is at risk. But as far as covering it up goes, the US government has admitted they exist and they don't know what the hell they are. And they're not ours and they're not theirs. So that leaves the third option. The Brazilian government actually just held a Senate hearing on the matter. And the French government has actually been open about it. They've never been closed about it. So they have something called the Meta report. It's made up of aeronautical engineers and astrophysicists. It's a 400-page report. It's available for free online. So there's 3 examples of governments that have said openly, yes, they're real. They just don't say what they are per se, probably because of societal ramifications. And that's the part that is still being the extent of the cover up, is the question. So as far as what can we do, well, scientifically speaking, we can encourage more scientists to look at this and get some of the stigma away, that Galileo faced when he said Earth is not at the center of the universe. We're facing the same kind of stigma today, in part manufactured by the government because they were afraid that society wouldn't be able to handle it, and that during the Cold War, they were afraid the Russians would take advantage of that. Well, the Cold War's over, and that might be another reason we're opening up today. But the Galileo Project, Harvard is looking at this as far as detecting the technosignatures, so is UFPX. What we're doing is actually we're putting multimodal cameras out there, infrared, visible spectrum, X-ray, radiation detectors, anything you can think of. We got all kinds of detectors out there. And we're putting them in hotspots and in places all over the world to hopefully get high resolution imagery back, just like the government does. That's one thing we're doing. So UAPX has actually had a mission to Catalina, which is where the USS incident occurred. The Galileo Project is just setting up their first outpost. It's on the roof of the astronomy building. They're testing it now. So going forward, this is going to be something that brings in a lot of data very quickly. So we're going to see a definite phase transition in the amount of public data available there.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, we've got multiple things here. We've got, stuff that's being done locally to try to understand the unidentified aerial phenomena within our solar system and around the planet Earth. Then we've got, older programs like SETI and what the James Webb Space Telescope can do, and other things looking for life and signatures of life in the greater universe. So there's 2 slightly different things, but it's multiple pronged issue. And I think, that when we find, when we find life in our own solar system, maybe on Mars or on Europa or somewhere else, and I think that will put to bed the idea that we're so special. I mean, human history has gone from, we're the beginning, we're the center of everything, we are the universe, we're it, the sun revolves around the earth, blah, blah, blah. And every time we keep getting demoted and demoted and demoted. And I think it's just, our human condition to think that we're something special. And, the universe is vast. There's billions and billions of stars and billions of galaxies, and to think that we're it. If we are it, if there is only just us, well, we're destroying our planet. So that'll be the end of it when we go. So we better be a bit more careful.
Okay, gentlemen, we should only start on the topic. There's so many things going on in the chat room. So I think somebody mentioned maybe Quinton is an alien. He knows so much. So anyway, a lot of things going on.
I'd like us to maybe try to answer some of these questions offline later, because there's a load of great questions from my audience.
Yep, we'll try to answer some of those questions. So can we take those questions? Actually, record them? Okay, yeah, we can record them. And we're going to put this on the recording. And I'm sure we're going to come back with a subsequent discussion, a much deeper dive on some of the things. So maybe we can share some videos later on, okay? Anyway, let's get back to our next session. Next session, courtesy of Max. Okay, Max mentioned that, can we talk about sustainability in space? Maybe there's some rubbish up there. Can we avoid greenwashing in space? Okay, maybe we can have a sexier topic. So this is going to be 6:30 to 7:30 again, in August 25th. Try to come back, Zoom in. we actually have more people this time than last time. So this is getting bigger. And if you want to become a student member, please go ahead. Now, let me do a little final intro. We do have a space business breakfast coming up. Okay, 19th of August. We're starting something new at OASA. So the idea is many people love the space economy, but they don't know what it means. So in this discussion, we'll be talking about the science behind a company, the science behind a space company. We also talk about the business as well. And we're going to have scientists and, and financial analysts, bankers to have a good dialogue, and it'll be around breakfast. So this is being arranged, and it's going to be at the Bankers Club. We're trying to do it once a month, and this is going to be, on Friday. So third Friday every month. So this is going to be what it potentially would be, what we're looking at. So on that note, I just want to thank the two gentlemen here. Now, I know the audience have a lot of questions. So let me open it up and let the audience ask 1 or 2 questions before we close. So audience who want to speak first, raise your hand so I can actually let you in. Okay, let me look at anybody raising their hands. Nobody? Come on, guys. You guys, talk to a real astronaut and an astrophysicist. Ask them anything you want. Oh, we got a hand. Maki. Okay, Maki, go ahead, Maki. You have to unmute. Maki, you have to unmute first. You can unmute. Can you unmute, Maki? Okay, can we take off the yeah, can you unmute? Okay, okay, we're going to take out the slide so we can see everybody. Okay.
Yeah, Richard Lung also has a question. He's got his hand up.
Yes, I do, okay. Quentin. Yeah.
All right, well, Richard, why don't you go first? Sorry, Richard, you go first.
Okay, good. Thank you.
To get Maki on. Go ahead.
Yeah, it will be great to exciting to meet the UFO, but I hope that they do give us a heads up. But anyway, my question is, when we come across a UFO, what kind of language or media or anything that we can use to communicate with them? And can we understand each other? Should we ask them to take our English class first?
I don't know if you want to answer this, Chris, but I would quickly just say that if they're advanced as they are, then we won't have to do that. They will already know and do it for us. So they'll just communicate with us in a way that we can understand. That's my assumption. But if you've seen like a recent movie about these weird aliens with pod-like hands that create symbols on the glass, then that's a different story. But yeah, it's a good question. But I would hope that the work would be done by them and they would communicate with us in a way we can understand. Assuming not so alien, then it does become like that movie. Chris, what do you think?
Well, their technology is at least tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, to millions of years advanced of us. So one could think that their intellect is the same. As far as that goes, as well as the fact that they've been here probably as long as humans, frankly, longer. You can find medieval paintings with these things in them. There's definitely been an uptick since we got nuclear weapons. Not hard to wonder why that is. So since we've had nuclear weapons, and they're actually attracted to not only nuclear ordnance, nuclear arsenals, nuclear weapons, that kind of thing, but anything that's nuclear powered. So submarines, aircraft carriers, some battle destroyers are using nuclear reactors. They're seeing them all the time too. So yeah, they've been here for at least that long, and with the technology being so advanced, yeah, chances are they can understand us better than we understand ourselves. On our last UAPX expedition, we actually had a laser light, a light that converted sound to light, and we were aiming that towards where we were filming for detection of these things, Catalina Island, the hotspot, and we were playing all kinds of different things, music, classical music, all kinds of different music and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was one modality we tried, and we did actually get results from that, some intriguing results from that soon after we started.
So let me try to summarize what Chris said, because the sound didn't come through very nicely. So Chris basically says that if they are who they think they are, advanced alien, advanced race, they can probably talk to us any way they want, and we would know how. But you may remember the movie, right? Encounters of the Third Kind. It's an old movie, and they use music to talk to the alien. right? So there must be all sorts of way, like Chris said, it could be light, could be sound, could be vibration, who knows? So, but I assume that if it's so advanced, they'll find a way to talk to us. So good question. Thank you, Richard.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. So where is Maki? Where did Maki disappear to? All right, maybe his connection didn't work. Sorry, Maki, we tried to get you on, but we couldn't.
Kimberly Chung has a question.
Kimberly, you got a question?
Yes. I want to
Okay.
ask if I want to see or really have connection with an alien, where or which medium has the highest chance to do that? Like, should I go to US or where should I go to has the higher chance to?
So sorry,
possibly.
you mean you have a chance to speak to an alien, and where's the best place to speak from? You mean the US, in China, in Russia, or on top of a mountain?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're global.
so-
There's hotspots, global. The biggest factor is nuclear. So if you can hang around a nuclear power plant.
I think if you just wear that shirt you're wearing with those NASA logos on, that'll be a good start.
Yeah.
Okay, a good question. By the way, Kimberly is an Olympian, so she does fencing, and she really wants to,
fantastic.
we have all sorts of fun people in our group. Okay, thank you, Kimberly, for that question. So
thank you.
there's a lot of discussion about aliens, nuclear, because one theory is that the aliens are very upset that humans are playing around with nuclear things. That's why they're trying to appear and say, stop, no more of this. You're killing yourself. And if you kill yourself, you're going to upset us as well. That's why they're getting involved. Anyway, that's one story. So we don't know how true that is. So any other questions from Thomas or Fletcher? Fletcher, a lot of fun questions.
Fletcher, yeah.
Max, is there any questions? I can't see anybody. We're good?
Right, I have a question actually, yeah. So thank you so much for your discussion. And so my question is, I guess NASA and the US government has a huge budget. So of course they can undertake many activities. But in Hong Kong, perhaps the resources are more limited. So I'm curious, what do you think should be the Hong Kong's role in the investigation of UFOs and UAPs? How can Hong Kong tackle some aspects of this problem?
I'd say it's a local group in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Civilians.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a
The Chinese
local
government
group.
is using
Okay.
AI. The military. Yeah, the Chinese government said the military is using artificial intelligence to categorize these things because it's got to be so much they can't track it with people. So they've seen an uptick in activity too.
All right.
I think, as Dr. G said earlier, the Hong Kong Observatory has records of local phenomenal and recordings. But I'm wondering whether, Maximilian, you're talking more about whether any of the local universities and maybe something like the LSR is something that we might get involved in. And I think until the giggle factor declines a little bit more, that's probably a risky venture for a university like ours and for an institute like the LSR to attach its signature to so quickly, unfortunately, because it just is still a very controversial subject, and many people just laugh and turn their eyes up and say UFO, little green men, ha ha ha. I think it's changing. The dialogue is changing, but we're after a paradigm shift here. And if you look at paradigm, I teach a course on paradigm shifts in science. And so I know how, there's a lot of psychology behind this about, when you get shifts in science, when you go through a crisis. I think we're going through something called, model drift and crisis at the moment in the current paradigm is that there are no aliens and it's all just crazy stuff. So that is coming, but it's not there yet, and people's careers based on debunking and everything else means it'll be a little while yet, I think, unless we get something game shifting happens. The reason why, that we got a Nobel Prize in chemistry and biology for the guy that discovered that stomach ulcers are caused by Helicobacter pylori infection, and you can cure it with antibiotics, rather than billions and billions of dollars spent on medicines from the big pharma to sort of treat the symptoms but not the cause. He infected himself with that, and that caused a paradigm shift, and then he got Nobel Prize. But we're not there yet, but we could be getting there soon.
Well, there are 3 universities now. There's Harvard University has an initiative. There's a university in Germany that has an initiative. And there's a university in Japan that has an initiative. Also, New Jersey passed, the New Jersey legislature passed a graduate scholarship for $100,000 a year. So the New Jersey legislature.
That's all true and important, but there's tens of thousands of universities. you know, and you got to
Yeah. So just
Okay. Excuse me. It sounds like we have a lot of background noise. So let me put you in mute. Okay. Anyway, that's a great question, Max. What is Hong Kong going to do about it? The way we're looking at it's going to be not much. But the good thing is we're Quinton. Well, as long as we have Quinton, we do a lot of different things. Now, on that note, I want to thank everybody for zooming in because we're overrun our time. Supposed to be 45 minutes, and now we're close to an hour. So I'd like to invite you guys back in the near future because I'm sure this UAP thing is not going to go away. We're going to get deeper, and the next thing is somebody's going to say, "Aha, we found it." Okay. Then what's the next discussion? Okay. On that note, I want to thank gentlemen. Have a good evening, and we're going to come back and have a lot of fun. Okay. All right. Bye,
thanks,
guys.
everybody, and thanks for great questions.
Thank Chris.
Thank you so much, Chris. Excellent, excellent what you were saying. Excellent.
Bye, everybody.
Great
Bye.
talking.
Thank you,
Bye,
Quinton.
Eddie.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, astronaut.
Bye, FD. Bye, everyone. See you at the other side, Alfred.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ada. Bye. Cynthia, Jerry. Bye. All right,
Bye,
good day,
thank
guys.
you, thank you.
Christopher, thank you.